Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? Happy Friday. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week and I really hope that you've gotten some great reading in. As you may have guessed, I am at Book Expo America, so this video is coming to you from the past into the future. But I definitely wanted to make sure, even though I would be traveling, that I would get you guys some content up because I have a lot of really great books to tell you about. This is going to be a number, is it 14 or 15 in my read and reviewed? I can't quite remember, but I have actually picked up my reading again, which is excellent. I am super happy about that. And I have some books to tell you about. The only difference about this video is there are going to be 4 books instead of the normal 3. I have read 4 books and I didn't want to put the last one out so far after I get back. I just wanted, while it's still fresh in my mind, I wanted to tell you guys about it. So, as always, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, because most of these, I believe, will wind up on your TBR. And as always, please pre-order them from your independent bookstore if you are so able, and support the authors, or have your library pre-order them for you so that you can get your hands on them as soon as possible. So let's get started. The first book that I want to talk to you about is Biloxi by Mary Miller. This book is actually out right now. I saw it yesterday in Barnes & Noble while I was there, so you can get your hands on it. I do want to thank Liverlight for sending me this early copy. Biloxi is the story of, and I'm always a little bit wonky on his name, I apologize, Lewis McDonald Jr. He is a man in his late 60s who lives in Biloxi, Mississippi. At the start of the book, we learn very quickly that his wife of over 30 years has left him, and his marriage was not all that he wanted it to be there at the end, and his life is completely different. He has quit his job because he believes he is coming into an inheritance from his father that could arrive at any minute, and his life is going to change. One day he is in his car and he is out traveling and he thinks he sees his ex-wife, so he decides to make a turn and go down to a different street so he doesn't have to confront her, and winds up at a house that is giving away dogs. And he meets a man who is just wonderfully characterized. You guys, you will die when you read how Mary Miller describes this man who's giving away these dogs. But basically he's convinced to take Lola home. Lola is a mixed breed, beautiful dog who has her own issues. She does this gagging thing where she sort of gags, and throughout the book, which my youngest, littlest dog has sort of this coffee gaggy thing, so I could really connect with that. And what happens is that Lewis's life changes, and it changes in a lot of ways. So he utterly sort of becomes dedicated to Lola as a dog, and as an owner. They become sort of partners, and he believes that he is there for a reason. This forces him to have different relationships with different people, including his daughter and his granddaughter, and also his ex-wife, and some of the people that are just in his life naturally. The other thing that is interesting that happens is we find out that maybe Lola wasn't that man's to give away, and we are introduced to Lola's previous owner and how that changes Lewis's life as well. I don't want to give too much because that's sort of the fun of the story, but Lewis is very much a typical Southern man from Biloxi, Mississippi. He has his own set ways. He says some stuff that are going to be like irksome, but he has a good heart. He's a very lovable weirdo. I don't know how to explain him, but I absolutely in the end was cheering him on and just enjoying his life and love for this dog Lola. I found it really endearing. It's a solid summer read if you're looking for something to sort of just keep you entertained and really just put a smile on your face, as this man learns how important it is to realize that just because your life changes doesn't mean you don't have love to give anymore. So that is Biloxi by Mary Miller, and I really enjoyed this read. I really did. The next book really has no need to even be introduced, and that is Milkman by Anna Burns. Now, this book is everywhere. This is the Graywolf edition. That's who published it here in the US. But this won the Man Booker. It is shortlisted for the Women's Prize. Anna Burns is an Irish writer, a Northern Irish writer, right? She was born in Belfast in Northern Ireland. How to describe Milkman? So I don't really want to tell you guys what you already know. This is the story of a young woman living in Ireland. Her life is utterly changed when when a man takes interest in her that the community says shouldn't, and that sort of makes her a topic of conversation. And what that does is it sort of brings her out of her anonymity and into the spotlight, and that changes things. Now, what Anna Burns does in this book is a couple of things. One, everyone is sort of referred to by their position or something about them. So our main character is called Middle Sister. We never learn her name. We never learn the name of her mother other than Ma. And there is a character named Milkman. He's part of the resistance. And is he even really a milkman? Why is he called that? Now, I will say this book is not going to be it for everyone. I just want to hold up for you sort of the pages. This book is stylistically very, very difficult. And I highly actually recommend the audiobook. I found that very helpful in getting through this book. I think this book has a lot to say that's very interesting. It talks about the conflicts in Ireland, not only politically, but also religiously. It talks about being a member, a sort of a parson, a bystander to that, and how you can be brought into it and it can change your life even if you have no intention. It's also about how women deal with this thing, how gossip can change perspectives even when the gossip is completely falsified. I found it interesting. I found it intriguing. My problem is because Anna Burns has stepped back and given no one sort of a name. So, Middle Sister, her boyfriend is maybe boyfriend, and third brother-in-law. These are how people are referred to. And I liked the idea, sort of this metaphor of this idea that these people are ambiguous and sort of, we don't get to know them because getting to know them or becoming known can be dangerous. I think that's interesting. But in doing that, I lacked a connection. There was just something about all of this that I felt one step behind. I think Anna Burns is a brilliant writer. I definitely think this book has a lot to say. I can see why people are impressed with it. But for me, I just left it not feeling connected to absolutely anyone. And that may be because I did have to Google and research a lot of information about Northern Ireland. I knew basics, but I did not know specifics. And maybe I think if you are from this area or this is really sort of your history or past, this book is going to probably be so important to you, which is fantastic. I'm really happy it's there to tell the story. But for me, I just didn't connect to it 100%. I still think it's brilliant. I still think that I understand everything that's said about it. It just wasn't 100% my type of book, but I would say read it because I definitely think it's a book that you can talk about and think about and work through. But it is a challenge. Don't go into this thinking you're going to fly through it. So that's Milkman by Anna Burns, and that is about enough of that one. The next book I'm going to tell you about is a bit of a chunkster. Look at that. I did good on getting through this. And this is The Snakes by Sadie Jones. This is coming out in June by Harper. And I knew nothing about Sadie Jones. It turns out she's actually had some very big books. I think The Uninvited Guest was a huge bestseller for her. And I think she won the Costa First Novel Award for The Outcast. And I think it was a finalist for the Orange Prize back then. So this is The Snakes. I went into this book expecting one thing, and it is completely different. So this is the story of a young couple who live in England. They are at a point, the husband sells real estate, the wife is a sort of a psychotherapist, and the husband is just not happy. He wants to be an artist, he does not like his career, and so they sort of come to an agreement that they are going to go on this trip across Europe. They're going to take 3 months off from work, and they're going to go across Europe just to sort of refresh everything in their life. Now, we find out very soon in the novel that the woman, the wife, is from a family that has money, but we don't know exactly what that means. But she has decided she's not going to ever take that money or be part of that money. What they do very early in the book is they wind up at a hotel being run by her brother, and in Paris, or outside, not Paris, I'm sorry, it's in France, and it's in a little town in France. They get there, and it turns out that it is dilapidated. There are snakes in the ceiling, there are snakes everywhere, And the brother has had a history of trouble. He's a drug addict and a recovering drug addict. He's had trouble with the law. And then soon after they arrive, the parents arrive. And we get introduced to them and who they are. They are exactly what you would expect in regards to these sort of stuck up, money is everything, looking down their noses people. They are that. And what Sadie Jones does is she does such a great job of describing that world compared to our main characters, who come from a very much more, they are working their way through paycheck to paycheck, and there's just a realism to who they are. A tragedy happens, and really everything is thrown into disarray when the brother character is killed. And we don't know why, we don't know how, but an investigation goes on. And as that investigation, sorry, there's a bird that just landed outside my window. It's so cute. It's just like jumping right there. It's very adorable. And as that investigation goes on, the husband starts to figure out exactly how wealthy his wife's family is. And he's enticed by this idea of money. Also, we learn how that money was accrued, and maybe we find why the wife doesn't want anything to do with it. And what happens is this book turns into sort of more of a thriller than I expected. In the beginning, I thought it was a family drama, and it is. It stays that way. But then it becomes sort of like this thriller, like what's involved with one? How did the brother pass? What are the facts between that? The history of the father and sort of his rise to fame and his the trials and tribulations of that. Why there's also this really dark family secret that's sort of being held in by the wife, and how that affects her relationship with her mother, and really all of that. This was a page turner. I was like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? I wanted to know what the outcome was going to be. I was very interested in the dynamic between the husband and the wife, and the idea of how money changes people, changes everything. I also thought that sort of the wife character, she has a moral center. This book did not end in any way, shape, or form the way I expected it to. That is all I'm going to say. I highly recommend The Snakes by Sadie Jones. It comes out in June. Please get a copy. I think it comes out in June the same time in Britain as it does in the US. I will be looking up her prior works because I thought this book was super entertaining, really well written, very driven, and I was in it. I was in it. There you go. And so I, again, have to thank Harper for this early copy. And they sent this thing, so this hotel keychain with it, which I used as a bookmark. Let me turn that around for you. That is absolutely adorable. So yeah, thank you guys so much, Harper. Really, really enjoyed The Snakes by Sadie Jones. Last but not least is a slim little book, and that is August 9 Fog by Kathryn Scanlan. And this is coming out from MCD by FSG. I know that sounds really strange to say it that way. This is going to be a tiny little book. It's like 128 pages. But you guys know that I'm really this year sort of diving into these books that take different ways of telling stories. Now, we learn in the beginning of this that this book is based upon a journal that Kathryn found at an estate sale. It is a journal from an older woman, I think she's in her 80s maybe, between 1968 through 1972. It's a journal that was given to her, this older woman, by her family to keep. And what's really interesting about the journal is it has the same day on each page, but for 5 years, right? So it's like you write on that page and you can read what happened the year before as you write about the current year, which I think is a really interesting idea. But this book, when Kathryn got a hold of it, was weather torn and falling apart and not all readable, but she became so infatuated with the stories and the lines that she started to take them out and reorganize them. And what she does here is she creates a story, a poetic verse story about this woman. And she breaks it down into seasons, and you sort of fly through the seasons. And here's what I'm going to say. I cried, and there's not much to this book, but the way she sort of will introduce a character, say something about them, tell you about their health or their thing. I mean, the woman is in her 80s. People are around her are older, getting ill, getting sick. She herself has issues. And what happens is, just in a few words, she can set tone, she can set season, she can make you emotion. I don't know exactly how to describe this book, you guys. But what I will say is, I think it took me an hour to read it. I was lost and I was totally bought in. And I know Kathryn Scanlan has a collection of short stories coming out, I want to say in 2020. And I'm very fascinated to know what she's going to do with her own artistic stuff. What she did here was tell a story of a woman that I was bought into her life and her tragedy and her happiness. And I thought this book was great. So that is August 9 Fog. This is coming out 6/4, so June 4th, by MSD, which is a part of FSG. And I want to thank them so much for sending me this early copy. I absolutely loved it. So there you go. Those are the last 4 books. I'll put the small one on top, that I have read so far in this year. I hope all of them wind up on your TBR for different reasons. They all have amazing merit, and I really enjoyed them. So, as always, if you are a return subscriber to my channel, thank you so much. If you are new to my channel, I hope all of these books wind up on your TBR, and you come back for more in the future. As always, I wish you happy reading, and until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye!